Good afternoon. My name is Paule Barsalou, and I'm the Artistic Director of the Suzuki String School of Guelph. I want to introduce the next piece. About 2 years ago, I was contacted by the Canadian Music Centre about collaborating with a composer on writing a piece for young players. At the time, it was a duet for younger players playing with more advanced players. And that became Watershed, which we performed last year. After the concert last year, Alex Eddington, the composer, and myself talked about having another project. And because the 40th anniversary of the school was coming up, I decided that it would be a good idea to have a piece written for us. So we were very lucky that Alex filled the application to get sponsorship from the Canadian Music Centre, and we received a grant for writing a new piece. So I sent an email to Alex and I said, okay, here is what I would like you to write. A piece that would have a fugue that would include the tonalization exercises that Dr. Suzuki uses in all the Suzuki books. And I had no idea how deeply committed Alex would become to this. So I would like him to come now to the stage and talk to you about it. It's been wonderful. It's such an amazing experience for the students to get a chance to interact with a composer and give their feedback and discuss the music with the composer and ask questions. And we had many chances to do that because Alex came 3 times to Guelph from Toronto to work with the students, and their feedback helped the piece to evolve to the version that you will hear today. So Alex, could you please come to the stage and talk to us about this?
There, that's better. Now I can walk around as I talk. Good afternoon, everyone. It's hard to believe I was here precisely 1 year ago, and it's great. I've been seeing a lot of familiar faces out in the lobby. It's such a thrill to be back working with this Suzuki school. Last year, I wrote Watershed, which started as a duet. I thought when I started writing it, it would be 2 violins, and in the performance here, if you saw it, there were 80 violinists on the stage. And as Paul mentioned, we thought, how can we one-up this? So this year I've written a piece for all the string players, or almost all the string players in the school. This piece is called Living Soul, and I'll tell you a few things about it so you know what to listen for. First of all, the title. Living Soul is titled after a quote by Dr. Suzuki, which is, "Tone has a living soul." So he imagines tone as a thing that we have to coax into being so that it becomes beautiful, and that was my guiding image through this entire piece. Before I go on, I just want to say this piece would not have been written without the support of the Ontario Arts Council, and I'm so grateful. Actually, that's not quite true. I probably would have written it for free, because this is such a fun project. But it's really nice to have funding for projects like this. So thank you, Ontario Arts Council. Some things to... Oh, thank you. I'm always grateful that commissioning programs like that exist, and they fund all sorts of other wonderful arts opportunities as well. Some things to listen for. First of all, the piece is about 6¼ minutes long, but it has 3 sections, and they run together. There's a prelude, there's a fugue, and there's an infinity. You might have heard music by Bach where he writes a prelude and a fugue. Well, I thought, I'm going to go one more and write the infinity, which sounds a lot like the prelude, but it's slower, and it seems like it could go on forever. So the piece kind of has an arch form like that. I want you also to listen for the tonalization exercises. As Paul mentioned, that was right in the commission. She said, we want a piece that has a prelude and a fugue, both of which are based on the tonalization. So if you're a parent of a Suzuki student, I'm sure you've heard the tonalization many times. It's an arpeggio exercise that goes up, lingers a bit, and comes down. It has a beautiful wave shape to it. Now remember that, I'll come back to it. So you'll hear the tonalization very plainly in the prelude, but in the fugue it's transformed into a tune. And if you're not familiar with what a fugue is, you have a tune in one voice. It starts with the violas, And then they're answered with the tune in a different key by the violins, and then the cellos come in with the tune in the original key. So they're passing the tune around, and they're playing other music that complements the tune. But the other thing I did that's not traditional to a fugue is to change moods very dramatically through the entire piece. So I actually wrote these moods into the score. I have words like hopefully and angrily, and my favorite is suspiciously, which you'll notice because it's the quietest part of the whole piece. The second big thing to listen for is the pizzicato on the open strings. This is also very important to the Suzuki training. We pluck the open string, we listen to it die completely away, the full resonance, and that's part of how you learn to play beautiful tone, is listening to the natural sound of the plucked string. So you can't miss it. This piece opens with all 100+ performers doing pizzicato on open strings together. And the piece ends with it as well, although it's kind of layered with other things. And in the middle, you'll hear it all the way through. The pizzicato is very important. It's all about listening to the tone. The final thing I want you to listen for is more of an image, and it's about the wave. Remember I mentioned tonalization goes up, it comes down. Well, so do sound waves. We think of sound as a wave. If the wave is long, the sound is lower pitched. If it's a shorter wave, it's a higher pitch. So I was imagining that these musicians are creating beautiful sound waves through their tonalization. So my image is that throughout the piece, a sound wave leaves a string instrument, travels through the air in a wave, and eventually comes to your ear, which is exactly what sound does. And a few ways you'll hear this wave show up. There are very many of them. You'll hear the pizzicato figures going up the open strings from low to high, and then down again. Near the beginning, you'll hear the advanced players play natural harmonics that go up the open strings and down again. They keep going up and down. And you'll hear parts break away in the prelude and the fugue and play faster things that go up and down, a little higher, a little lower, sort of more irregular waves. So there are three things to listen for: tonalization, pizzicato, and waves. So I'm just going to end by thanking everybody. Paule Barsalou, who was my wonderful contact last year with Watershed and this year with Living Soul, and so friendly, and has a splendid school all around here. I'd like to thank Jeremy, who's been a wonderful conductor for this piece. I just met him yesterday. I'd like to thank all the teachers who have been so welcoming, having me in their classes. All month I've been coming out here. I'd love to thank the parents who put so much love and energy into their child's musical education, and of course, the roughly 100 students who are going to be playing this piece today, many of whom in the violins played Watershed last year, so it's nice to have a relationship that continues. I think I'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Enjoy Living Soul, and I'd love to talk to you about it in the lobby after the concert. Take care.